Hi, fourth graders. Welcome back for another Number the Stars read aloud. So last time I read, you might remember that it cut me off halfway through chapter 7. So we're going to finish chapter 7 today and start chapter 8, hopefully finish that as well. And so last time we read, let me pull up Number the Stars. So last time we read, they had gotten to Uncle Henrik's house. And if you remember, they were standing, Anne-Marie and Ellen were standing by the ocean, and they were able to look across and see Sweden on the other side from Denmark. And I think that was really all that had happened. We'd learned about Uncle Henrik, who's a fisherman, but we have not met him yet. They were running through a field at one point, and a kitten showed up. So we're going to continue just right before where I got cut off last time. So right here. Anne-Marie, Ellen, Mama's voice came across the meadow. The girls looked around and saw her waving to them. They turned, picked up their shoes, and began walking towards the house. The kitten, who had settled comfortably on the stony shore, rose immediately and followed them. I took Ellen down to show her the sea, Anne-Marie explained when they reached the place where Mama waited. She'd never been that close before. We started to wade, but it was too cold. I wish we had come in summer so we could swim. It's too cold even then, Mama said. She looked around. You didn't see anyone, did you? You didn't talk to anyone? Anne-Marie shook her head. Just the kitten. Ellen had picked it up, and it lay purring in her arms as she stroked its small head and talked to it softly. I meant to warn you. You must stay away from people while we are here. But there's no one around here, Anne-Marie reminded her. Even so, if you see anyone at all, even someone you know, one of Henrik's friends, it is better if you come in the house. It is too difficult, maybe even dangerous, to explain who Ellen is. Ellen looked up and bit her lip. There aren't soldiers here, too, she asked. Mama sighed. I'm afraid there are soldiers everywhere, and especially now. This is a bad time. Come in now and help me fix supper. Henrik will be home soon. Watch the step there. It's loose. Do you know what I have done? I found enough apples for applesauce. Even though there is no sugar, the apples are sweet. Henrik will bring home some fish, and there is wood for the fire, so tonight we will be warm and well fed. It is not a bad time, then, Anne-Marie told her. Not if there is applesauce. Ellen kissed the kitten's head and let it leap from her arms to the ground. It darted away and disappeared in the tall grass. They followed Mama into the house. That night, the girls dressed for bed in the small upstairs bedroom they were sharing, the same bedroom that had been Mama's when she was a little girl. Across the hall, Kirsty was already asleep on the wide bed that had once belonged to Anne-Marie's grandparents. Ellen touched her neck after she had put on Anne-Marie's flower-sprigged nightgown, which Mama had packed. Where is my necklace? She asked. What did you do with it? I hid it on a safe place, Anne-Marie told her. A very secret place where no one will ever find it, and I will keep it there for you until it is safe for you to wear it again. Ellen nodded. Papa gave it to me when I was very small, she explained. She sat down on the edge of the old bed and ran her fingers along the handmade quilt that covered it. The flowers and birds, faded now, had been stitched into the quilt by Anne-Marie's great-grandmother many years before. I wish I knew where my parents are, Ellen said in a small voice as she outlined one of the appliqued birds with her finger. Anne-Marie didn't have an answer for her. She patted Ellen's hand, and they sat together silently. Through the window, they could see a thin, round slice of moon appear through the clouds against the pale sky. The Scandinavian night was not very dark yet, though soon, when winter came, the night would be not only dark, but very long. Night skies beginning in the late afternoon and lasting through morning. From downstairs, they could hear her Mama's voice, and Uncle Henrik's, talking, catching up on news. Mama missed her brother when she hadn't seen him for a while. Anne-Marie knew. They were very close. Mama always teased him gently for not marrying. She asked him, laughing, when they were together, whether he had found a good wife yet, one who would keep his house tidier. Henrik teased back and told Mama that she should come to Galihi to live again so that he wouldn't have to do all the chores by himself. For a moment, to Anne-Marie, listening, it seemed like all the earlier times and happy visits to the farm in the past with summer daylight extending beyond bedtime, with the children tucked away in the bedrooms and the grown-ups downstairs talking. But there was a difference. In the earlier times, she had always overheard laughter. Tonight, there was no laughter at all. Chapter 8 is called There Has Been a Death. I wonder whose death? Through a haze of dreams, Anne-Marie heard Henrik rise and leave the house, headed for the barn with his milking pail at daybreak. Later, when she woke again, it was morning. She could hear the birds calling outside, one of them close by the window in the apple tree. She could hear Mama below in the kitchen talking to Kirsty. Ellen was still asleep. The night before, so shortened by the soldiers at the Copenhagen apartment, seemed long ago. Anne-Marie rose quietly so that she wouldn't wake her friend. She pulled on her clothes and went down the narrow curved stairs to find her sister kneeling on the kitchen floor trying to make the gray kitten drink water from a bowl. "Silly," she said. "Kittens like milk, not water." "I am teaching this one new habits," Kirsty explained importantly, "and I have named him Thor, for the god of thunder." Anne-Marie burst out laughing. She looked at the tiny kitten, who was shaking his head, irritated at his wet whiskers as Kirsty kept trying to dip his face to the water. "God of thunder," Anne-Marie said. "He looks as if he would run and hide if there were a thunderstorm." "He has a mother someplace who would comfort him, I imagine," Mama said. "And when he wants milk, he'll find his mama." "Or he could go visit the cow," Kirsty said. Although Uncle Henrik no longer raised crops on the farm as his parents had, he still kept a cow, who munched happily on the meadow grass and gave a little milk each day in return. Now and then he was able to send cheese into Copenhagen to his sister's family. This morning, Anne-Marie noticed with delight Mama had made oatmeal. There was a pitcher of cream on the table. It was a very long time since she had tasted cream. At home, they had bread and tea every morning. Mama followed Anne-Marie's eyes to the pitcher. "Fresh from Blossom," she said. "Henrik milks her every morning before he leaves for the boat." "And," she added, "there's butter, too. Usually not even Henrik has butter, but he managed to save a little this time." "Save a little from what?" Anne-Marie asked, spooning oatmeal into a floured bowl. "Don't tell me the soldiers try to, what's the word, relocate butter too?" She laughed at her own joke. But it wasn't a joke at all, though Mama laughed ruefully. "They do," she said. "They relocate all the farmers' butter right into the stomach of their enemy. I suppose that if they knew Henrik had kept this tiny bit, they would come with guns and march it away down the path." Kirsty joined their laughter as the three of them pictured a mound of frightened butter under military arrest. The kitten darted away when Kirsty's attention was distracted and settled on the windowsill. Suddenly, here in the sunlit kitchen, with cream in a pitcher and a bird in the apple tree beside the door, and out in the cattegat, where Uncle Henrik, surrounded by bright blue sky and water, pulled his nets filled with shiny silver fish. Suddenly, the specter of guns and grim-faced soldiers seemed nothing more than a ghost story, a joke with which to frighten children in the dark. Ellen appeared in the kitchen doorway, smiling sleepily, and Mama put another floured bowl of steaming oatmeal on the old wooden table. "Cream," Anne-Marie said, gesturing to the pitcher with a grin. All day long, the girls played out of doors under the brilliant clear sky and sun. Anne-Marie took Ellen to the small pasture beyond the barn and introduced her to Blossom, who gave a lazy, rough-textured lick to the palm of Ellen's hand when she extended it timidly. The kitten scampered about and chased hiding insects across the meadow. The girls picked armfuls of wildflowers, dried brown now by the early fall chill, and arranged them in pots and pitchers until the tabletops were crowded with their bouquets. Inside the house, Mama scrubbed and dusted, tisking at Uncle Henrik's untidy housekeeping. She took the rugs out into the clothesline and beat them with a stick, scattering dust into the air. "He needs a wife," she said, shaking her head, and attacked the old wooden floors with a broom while the rugs aired. "Just look at this," she said, opening the door to the little used formal living room with its old-fashioned furniture. "He never dusts." And she picked up her cleaning rags. "And Kirsty," she added, "the god of thunder, made a very small rain shower in the corner of the kitchen floor. Keep an eye on him." Late in the afternoon, Uncle Henrik came home. He grinned when he saw the newly cleaned and polished house, the double doors to the living room wide open, the rugs aired, and the windows washed. "Henrik, you need a wife," Mama scolded him. Uncle Henrik laughed and joined Mama on the steps near the kitchen door. "Why do I need a wife when I have a sister?" he asked in his booming voice. Mama sighed, but her eyes were twinkling. "And you need to stay home more often to take care of this house. This step is broken, and there's a leaking faucet in the kitchen, and—" Henrik was grinning at her, shaking his head in mock dismay. "And there are mice in the attic, and my brown sweater has a big moth hole in the sleeve, and if I don't wash the windows soon—" They laughed together. "Anyway," Mama said, "I have opened every window, Henrik, to let the air in and the sunlight. Thank goodness it is such a beautiful day." "Tomorrow will be a day for fishing," Henrik said, his smile disappearing. Anne-Marie listened, recognizing the odd phrase. Papa had said something like it on the telephone. "Is the weather good for fishing, Henrik?" Papa had asked. But what did it mean? Henrik went fishing every day, rain or shine. Denmark's fishermen didn't wait for sunny days to take their boats out and throw their nets into the sea. Anne-Marie, silent, sitting with Ellen under the apple tree, watched her uncle. Mama looked at him. "The weather is right?" she asked. Henrik nodded and looked at the sky. He smelled the air. "I will be going back to the boat tonight after supper. We will leave very early in the morning. I will stay on the boat all night." Anne-Marie wondered what it would be like to be on the boat all night. To lie at anchor, hearing the sea slap against the sides. To see the stars from your place on the sea. "Have you prepared the living room?" Uncle Henrik asked suddenly. Mama nodded. "It is cleaned, and I moved the furniture a bit to make room." "And you saw the flowers?" she added. "I hadn't thought of it, but the girls picked dried flowers from the meadow." "Preparing the living room for what?" Anne-Marie asked. "Why did you move the furniture?" Mama looked at Uncle Henrik. He had reached down for the kitten, scampering past, and now held it against his chest and scratched its chin gently. It arched its small back with pleasure. "Well, girls," he said, "it is a sad event, but not too sad, really, because she was very, very old. There has been a death, and tonight your great Aunt Bert will be resting in the living room in her casket before she is buried tomorrow. It is the old custom, you know, for the dead to rest at home, and their loved ones will be with them before burial." Kirsty was listening with a fascinated look. "Right here?" she asked. "A dead person right here?" Anne-Marie said nothing. She was confused. This was the first she had heard of a death in the family. No one had called Copenhagen to say that there had been a death. No one had seemed sad. And, most puzzlingly of all, she had never heard the name before. Great Aunt Bert. Surely she would have known if she had a relative by that name. Kirsty might not. Kirsty was little and didn't pay attention to such things. But Anne-Marie did. She had always been fascinated by her mother's stories of her own childhood. She remembered the names of all the cousins, the great aunts, and uncles who had been a tease, who had been a grouch, who had been such a scold that her husband had finally moved away to a different house, though they continued to have dinner together every night. Such wonderful, interesting stories, filled with the colorful personalities of her mother's family. And Anne-Marie was quite certain, though she said nothing, that there was no great Aunt Bert. She didn't exist. All right. And so that's the end of chapter 8. Next time we will read chapter 9, Why Are You Lying? And hopefully a little bit of chapter 10 as well. So Anne-Marie just figured out that her mom is probably lying about Great Aunt Bert. She does not exist. And so maybe in the next chapter she's going to figure out what's really going on there. All right. So now you're going to go watch the lesson for today's packet. And I will see you over there. Bye.